Welcome to another video of Programming C. In this video, we are going to cover the topics like variable, constant, then we are going to escape sequences, then data type. At last, we will see local and global variable. So let us see first what is variable. So what is a variable? Basically, variable is a container or a storage area where in a memory location. Then why we need a variable? We need a variable because in our program or in our solution we need some data to process it, and from where the data will come? The data will come from the user itself. The user will give us the data. We have to store that data, or we have to keep that data in a particular area from where we can access that. So where we will store? We will store the data in a memory. That particular memory area or storage area is known as a variable. So as like we have address for what? For any kind of communication, for postal communication we have an address, or in for email, that is an address. So by the postal address anything can come to us. Similarly, each and every storage area will have an address. Along with address, it will have a name. That particular name is known as a identifier. Fine. So let us see the example here. Int x is equal to 5. So what is int x is equal to 5? Here in this particular statement, x is a variable, 5 is the data which is going to be stored in that particular variable, and int is the type of variable, or int is the data type. We will read about data type in next slides. Fine. So x is a variable of integer type. That means x can store or x can keep any integer value in it. So 5 is integer value and it can keep the integer, it can keep the value 5 on the storage area named as x in a memory. Fine. So for the identifiers or for a variable name also we have some rules in C, because as we all know that C is a structured language. So for everything in a C we have to follow some rules and some structures. So what are the rules for an identifier or writing an identifier in a C? The first rule is the special character other than underscore is not in a identifier or in a variable name. The alphabets in both capital and small from A to Z are allowed, along with the numerical value from 0 to 9 is also allowed. This is the first rule. What is the second rule? No blank space and comma are allowed. That means you cannot give a space in your variable name or in your identifier. Similarly, you cannot also use a comma in an identifier or a variable name. Third rule is no special symbol other than underscore is allowed. As I already mentioned it, no special character other than underscore. That means you cannot use star, you cannot use hash, you cannot use at the rate, but you can use underscore. Fourth rule is the first character of your identifier or the first character of your variable name should be a alphabet or a underscore. You cannot start your identifier or your variable name with a numeric value. Fine. Then at last we have a this is a very special rule that the variable name should not be the reserved words. So what are the reserved words? As I mentioned in my previous video, we have a C library functions, or we have a library of functions, different functions in a C. Those function names are the reserved keywords or reserved words in C. So you cannot write those names as your variable name or as an identifier. Fine. Let us see some examples of variable name where by which we can see that how the variable names are written, and which variable name should be written, or which variable name will give you the error. Fine. Okay, let us see how the integer are written. So how the integer written? First we have to write an data type. So we will see what are the data types and what is data type in next slides. So for now I am telling that integer is a data type. So the integers this is it is int is a data type which indicates integer. Then x is equal to 5. So what does it mean? It means that x is a variable of integer type and x will contain the value 5 in it. So how this particular memory or the x will be there? So suppose we will take this is our memory block or memory. In this particular memory we have different blocks. Each and every block can be a memory. Suppose this is the allocated space for us. So this will be named as x. Fine. So now the 5 value will be stored in this particular area. This is the storage area where 5 will be stored. Fine. So what then we have different identifier rules. So we can write x. Yes, it is a variable name. It is a valid identifier. It can be written. We can also write underscore x. It is valid. Fine. We can write x underscore. It is also valid. We can write 0, 1, 2, x. It is not valid because I mentioned you cannot start your variable name with a numeric value. But if I will write underscore 0, 1, 2, x, it is correct. I can write it. Fine. Similarly, suppose the names. I want my name is variable name. So I can write Rajesh. Yes, it is a variable name, valid variable name. I can also write underscore Rajesh. Yes, it is also a valid variable name. I can write Rajesh underscore. Yes, it is also a valid variable name. I can write Rajesh 1, 2, 3 underscore. Yes, it is also a valid variable name. If I will write 1 Rajesh, it is not a valid because you cannot start it with a numeric value. Fine. So this is the identifier or variable names. So to write a variable also in a C we have different rules. Let us see now what is a constant. Okay, constant. So as the name indicate constant, it means you cannot change the value. It is a constant value. So similarly in C also, along with variables we can also write the constant values. That means the for entire program or the for entire solution, the value that will never change is known as a constant. So to write the constant, as we have to write a variable, we have to write a identifier and along with identifier we have to give the data type. But for constant we just only have to write const const and the value variable and equal to the value. So as I mentioned here, the const keyword is used. So why the constants are required? In some cases in program, when we write programs, in some cases we need some value for entire program. That value should not be changed. We can take an example like pi. Pi is a value 3 point something. So that value is a constant. That value should not be changed. So we can take a constant value for a variable. So suppose we will take a variable pi. Yes, we can take it pi or pe, whatever may be, or p. So for p we can give a constant value that 3.17 something. So that particular value will be continued till the end of the program. What is the end of the program? For the main function. Till the end of main function, that particular value will not be changed. Fine. This is the C constant. As indicates the name, it's a constant value. It should not be changed or it cannot be changed throughout your program. Fine. So now let us see what is data type. What is data type? As I already mentioned, in variable, for writing a variable we need a data type. So data type indicates what type of data or what type of function or what type of variable, you can say anything. Basically, what is data type? It's a type. It indicates a type of data which is going to be stored in a variable. Fine. So we have four type of data types. We have integer, character, float, and double. Integer we have to write in a C program as int. For character we have to write char. For float we have to write float, float, and for double we have to write the double, double. Integer, it's a data type for integers only. The range, as I mentioned, it is the range of integer. You can store the particular numbers in that particular range, and it takes 2 to 4 bytes. It depends on the compiler. Fine. For Windows compilers which we have in market, it will take 2 bytes, and for Linux and Unix operating system, it takes 4 bytes. Fine. Character, char, it takes 1 byte of space, and it is the range, and it is for storing the character values or storing the alphabets. Fine. Then we have float. It will take 4 bytes of space. So float is for to store decimal values. Fine. Double, it will take 8 bytes, and it is also for decimal values. So basically the difference between the float and double is the values after the decimal point. Fine. The float will keep the 4 values after the decimal point, and double can keep 8 values after decimal points. Fine. So why these particular data types are there? As I mentioned, the data type will tell you what type of data the user or the client or the program user is going to give you, and according to that we have to write in a program the user can give this kind of data, so we need this kind of variable. So this particular thing we need this kind of variable, so for that thing we need a data type. We have to write in our program which variable can store which type of data. Fine. For functions we will read in next videos. In next videos we will read what is function and how it is written. The functions are also same. The data type indicates what type of data can we can give to a function, and what kind of data the function will give us. Fine. So this is the thing why the data type is used. So it is very important that we have to indicate, or we have to remember the data type, because if we will not write data type for a variable, it is error. It will give you error, the type not specified. Fine. Along with those initial data types, there are some external things, like we can extend the size of the data type, or we can extend the range of it. Fine. But because integer, we can see the range. If we want to give more bigger number, we can extend the size of the integer. For that we have long int, also we have short int. Similarly we have long character, short character, long float, long double. So these are the extra things which we can write in our data type for variables. So let us see what type of, how we write the data type for a variable and what it is actually. Suppose we have to write a variable which will store integer values. Fine. Suppose the variable name is y. Suppose the variable name is y. So we have to write int y semicolon. Fine. So what it is indicate? It indicates y is a variable of integer type. That means y can store only integer values. Fine. Similarly, if we will write char y semicolon, what it indicate? It indicates y is a variable which will store character values. Fine. Similarly, we can write float y or double y. We have to remember that for each and every statement or each and every variable, it is called as variable declaration. We have to declare the variable. Fine. For each and every variable declaration statement, the semicolons are very compulsory. If we will not give semicolons, then it will show you the error. So we have to give the semicolons. If you not write semicolon, it will be error. And in a particular single line also you can declare multiple variables. So like we can write, sorry, like we can write int x comma y comma z semicolon, or we can write char a comma b comma c. So x, y, z are three different variables of integer type. Similarly, a, b and c are different variables of character type, and each and every line semicolons are compulsory. So like this we can write data type, or we can declare the variables. Fine. So let us now see what is escape. Okay, let us see what is escape sequence. In a C program, there are some special characters with a backslash in front of it, which is known as escape sequences. This particular backslash characters have some specific meaning or specific task in a program. Will do some specific tasks in a program which is known by the compiler. So we will see different escape sequences in our next programs, where we will see different thing next videos. So for now, let us see what are the escape characters. So here has as I mentioned here, backslash a for a beep sound, backslash b for a backspace, backslash f for a form deep, then backslash n for a new line, backslash r, backslash t, v slash apostrophe, then backslash double quote, double backslash and backslash with 0. Fine. So these are the very special characters with a backslash. We will see different escape sequences in our programs when we will write different programs for different solutions. At that time I will elaborately describe those things. Okay, so now let us see what is local and global variable. Okay, local and global variable. If you remember the previous video, we have written our first C program. So in our first C program, I wrote main function. After writing main, two brackets, I have given the curly braces. So the starting curly braces and the ending curly braces. The reason between those starting and ending curly braces, is known as a scope of a program or scope of a function. If it is a main function, it is a scope of main function. If it is any new function which we will write, then scope of that function. So basically the main function, the scope of main function is known as scope of the program. Fine. So if a variable is declared within the scope of a function is known as a local variable. Fine. So local variable is only can be used within the scope of the function. So what is global variable? If a variable can be used in different functions, or apart from for global variables, there is no boundary of scope, because the global variables are declared at the top. Just after the preprocessor command, the global variables are declared. Fine. If you declare the global variable, you can use that global variable in any function. You can use it in main function, you can use it in any other function if you write. Fine. But if it's a local variable, it can be only used within the scope of that particular function. If it is a global variable, for global variable there are no scope of program. It can be used in entire program. In next videos, in next topics where we will write different programs, we can see the clear difference between the local and global variable. Fine. So when we will write it, I will tell you what is local variable and what which one is local and which one is global variable for the timing. Just remember that there are two type of variables. One is local and one is global. If a variable declared or if a variable is used within the scope of the program or scope of the function is known as local variable. If that particular variable is from outside of the scope of function or scope of program, it is a global variable. So this is for today's video, and for next video please do subscribe and like my video. And very soon we will write some programs, and because already we have completed the variable and constants, after the next video we can write different programs, and I will do write program and will give you the algorithm as well as the flowchart also. Fine. Thank you.